66 million years ago, a normal sunny morning started like any other day on Earth. Dinosaurs were everywhere, from massive long-necked giants eating trees to fierce hunters chasing their prey. Nobody knew that in just a few hours, almost everything alive would be gone forever. The sky was clear and blue, and life was going on like it had for millions of years. But high above the clouds, something terrible was racing toward Earth at incredible speed. Before we dive in, drop a comment and let me know which city you're watching this from right now. The object heading toward Earth was a giant rock from space called an asteroid. This wasn't just any space rock, it was as wide as a whole city. Imagine a rock so big that if you put it next to Mount Everest, it would almost match the mountain's height. This asteroid was traveling faster than anything you can imagine, moving at 67,000 miles per hour. That's about 200 times faster than a race car going full speed on a highway. Scientists today call this asteroid the Chicxulub impactor, named after the place in Mexico where it hit. The rock had been floating through space for billions of years before Earth's gravity pulled it in. As it got closer to our planet, it started glowing red hot from rubbing against the air. Any dinosaur that happened to look up at that moment would have seen a bright fireball streaking across the sky. The asteroid was so huge and moving so fast that nothing could stop what was about to happen. When the space rock finally crashed into Earth, it hit near what we now call Mexico. The impact created an explosion bigger than all the nuclear bombs in the world going off at once. In fact, it was 1 billion times more powerful than the atomic bombs that ended World War II. The crash made a hole in the ground so deep and wide that you could fit entire mountains inside it. The crater it created was over 100 miles across and 12 miles deep into the Earth. The first dinosaurs to die were the ones living anywhere near the impact zone. The explosion was so hot that it instantly turned them into dust and ash. But the disaster was just getting started, and the worst was yet to come for the rest of the planet. Massive chunks of rock and dirt got thrown up into the sky, some pieces flying all the way to space. These rocks came crashing back down everywhere on Earth, starting fires all over the world at the same time. Within minutes of the impact, earthquakes stronger than any we see today shook every continent on Earth. These weren't small shakes, they were powerful enough to knock down mountains and split the ground open. The shaking was so intense that even dinosaurs standing thousands of miles away from Mexico felt the ground moving under their feet. Volcanoes that had been sleeping for years suddenly woke up and started exploding, adding even more danger to an already terrible situation. Then came the tsunami waves, and they were absolutely massive beyond anything we can imagine today. When the asteroid hit, it landed partly in the ocean, which created walls of water taller than skyscrapers. These giant waves rushed across the seas at the speed of a jet plane, reaching 5,000 feet high in some places. Coastal areas got completely wiped out as water crashed on land, sweeping away everything in its path. Dinosaurs living near beaches or rivers didn't stand a chance against these monster waves that appeared without warning. The sky started changing color as millions of tons of dust and ash got thrown into the air. Imagine if someone took all the dirt from 1,000 deserts and tossed it into the sky at once. The sun disappeared behind thick clouds of debris that spread across the entire planet within days. It got dark everywhere on Earth, not just at night, but during the day too. This darkness would last for months, maybe even years, blocking out the sunlight that everything needed to survive. Plants started dying first because they couldn't make food without sunlight through a process called photosynthesis. Trees that had stood for hundreds of years began turning brown and dropping their leaves even though it wasn't fall. Grass dried up and stopped growing, and flowers wilted and disappeared from the landscape completely. Within weeks, the once green and lively Earth started looking dead and gray everywhere you looked. This was a huge problem because plants were the bottom of the food chain that everything else depended on. The plant-eating dinosaurs were the next to face serious trouble as their food supply vanished quickly. Huge dinosaurs like Triceratops and the long-necked Brachiosaurus needed to eat hundreds of pounds of plants every single day. Without green plants to munch on, these gentle giants started starving and getting weaker with each passing day. Young dinosaurs died first because they needed more food to grow, and adult dinosaurs washed helplessly as their babies stopped moving. The land became littered with dinosaur bodies that had simply run out of energy to keep going. But the meat-eating dinosaurs thought they might survive at first because there was plenty of dead meat around. Dinosaurs like Tyrannosaurus rex started feeding on the bodies of plant eaters that had already died from starvation. For a short time, the predators had more food than they knew what to do with. However, they didn't realize that once all the plant eaters were gone, they would have nothing left to hunt. The meat eaters were just delaying their own end, not escaping it like they might have hoped. The temperature on Earth started dropping dramatically because the sun's heat couldn't get through the thick dust clouds. Places that used to be warm and comfortable became freezing cold, almost like winter lasting forever without any summer. Dinosaurs were reptiles, which means they needed warmth from the sun to keep their bodies working right. Without that warmth, they moved slower and slower until many of them just stopped moving altogether. Baby dinosaurs still in their eggs never hatched because it was too cold for them to develop properly. Scientists have found amazing fossils that show us exactly what happened during these terrible months after the impact. In North Dakota, researchers discovered a site called Tanis where they found fish with space rock particles in their gills. These fish died within the first hour of the asteroid hitting Earth, showing us how fast the disaster spread. The fossils are so well preserved that scientists can see the last meal these fish ate still in their stomachs. This discovery proved that the extinction didn't take thousands of years, but happened incredibly quickly instead. Another incredible fossil find happened in Montana where scientists discovered a triceratops that died right after the asteroid struck. The dinosaur's bones show it was healthy and strong before the impact, not sick or old at all. Around this fossil, researchers found a layer of ash and space rock dust from the exact day the asteroid hit. This fossil is like a snapshot frozen in time, showing us that even the strongest dinosaurs couldn't survive what happened. The Triceratops probably died within days or weeks of the impact, proving how fast everything changed on Earth. In Antarctica, which used to be much warmer back then, scientists found fossils of baby dinosaurs still in their nests. These little dinosaurs never got a chance to hatch from their eggs and see the world outside. The eggs are surrounded by ash and rock from the asteroid impact, telling us they died right during that terrible time. Some eggs even have cracks where the baby dinosaur was trying to break out, but never finished hatching. This fossil site is heartbreaking because it shows that a whole new generation of dinosaurs disappeared before they could even be born. But not everything on Earth died when the asteroid hit, and this is where our story takes an interesting turn. Small furry animals about the size of rats managed to survive by hiding underground in burrows and tunnels. These little creatures were the early ancestors of all mammals, including humans who came much later. They could eat almost anything, from bugs to seeds to dead plants, which helped them survive when dinosaurs couldn't. Being small also meant they didn't need as much food as the giant dinosaurs did to stay alive each day. Birds were another group that made it through the extinction, but only certain types of birds survived the disaster. The birds that lived were mostly small ones that could eat seeds, which stayed good even in the cold and dark. They had an advantage because they could fly to different places looking for food when one area ran out. Today's chickens, ducks, and all other birds are actually descendants of the dinosaurs that didn't go extinct. In fact, scientists now say that birds are literally living dinosaurs, just smaller versions with feathers that survived. Here's something really cool that proves chickens come from dinosaurs, and it's based on actual scientific research and fossils. When scientists look at chicken bones under microscopes, they see the same patterns and structures as dinosaur bones. Chickens have hollow bones just like their dinosaur ancestors did, which helped both chickens and dinosaurs stay live for their size. If you look at a chicken's feet and legs, they're covered in scales exactly like dinosaur skin we see in fossils. Baby chickens even have tiny claws on their wings when they're born, left over from when their ancestors needed those claws for climbing. The most amazing evidence comes from fossils of dinosaurs called theropods, which were the group that included Tyrannosaurus rex. Scientists have found theropod fossils that show these dinosaurs had feathers, not just scales like we used to think. Some of these feathered dinosaurs looked remarkably similar to modern birds, with the same body shape and bone structure. In China, researchers discovered fossils of small feathered dinosaurs that could almost pass for weird-looking chickens if you saw them today. These fossils show that birds didn't evolve from dinosaurs, but birds actually are dinosaurs that kept evolving after the others died. Crocodiles and alligators also survived the asteroid impact, and scientists think they made it because of where they lived. These reptiles spent most of their time in water, which protected them from the worst of the fires and heat. They could also go without eating for months at a time, waiting until the world started recovering and food came back. Turtles survived too, probably for similar reasons, as they could hide in their shells and didn't need much food. These animals are often called living fossils because they've stayed almost the same for millions of years since dinosaur times. After about 2 years of darkness, the dust finally started settling back down to the ground slowly. Sunlight began breaking through the clouds again, and the earth started warming up bit by bit. The first plants to come back were tough ones like ferns that could grow in harsh conditions without much help. These plants spread across the empty land, turning the gray world green again little by little over thousands of years. Insects that had survived underground came back out and started helping plants spread by carrying pollen from flower to flower. With plants growing again, the small mammals that survived started having more babies and spreading to new areas. Without giant dinosaurs around to eat them or step on them, these little mammals could go anywhere they wanted. They started evolving and changing into different shapes and sizes to fit different ways of living and eating. Some became good at climbing trees, others learned to swim in rivers, and some grew bigger for living in open grasslands. This was the beginning of the age of mammals that eventually led to humans appearing millions of years later. The asteroid impact actually created opportunities for new life forms even though it destroyed so much at first. The crater in Mexico filled with water over time and became a home for new ocean creatures to live in. Forests grew back thicker than before in some places because there were no huge dinosaurs eating all the trees anymore. Rivers changed their paths and created new wetlands where different animals could make homes and find food. Earth was rebuilding itself into something new, and life was finding ways to come back stronger than ever. One of the most incredible fossil discoveries shows us how quickly mammals took over after dinosaurs disappeared from Earth. In New Mexico, scientists found fossils of early mammal species that grew much bigger within just a few 100,000 years. Before the asteroid, mammals stayed small because dinosaurs would eat them if they got too big and noticeable. But after the extinction, fossils show mammals getting bigger and bigger with each generation that was born. Some mammals eventually grew as large as modern bears, filling the spaces that dinosaurs used to occupy in nature. Another mind-blowing discovery happened in Colorado where researchers found fossils from just 1 million years after the asteroid impact. These fossils show early versions of hoofed animals, kind of like the ancestors of horses and deer we see today. The fossils prove that evolution happened really fast once the dinosaurs were gone and couldn't compete for food anymore. Scientists were shocked to find such advanced mammals existing so soon after the extinction event that killed everything big. This discovery changed how we think about evolution and showed that life can bounce back faster than we thought possible. In Wyoming, paleontologists discovered one of the most complete fossil records of life immediately after the dinosaur extinction. They found layers of rock with fossils showing exactly how life changed year by year and century by century. The bottom layers show the last dinosaurs, then there's the asteroid impact layer with space rock, then above that are fossils of the New World. You can literally see the moment when dinosaurs disappeared and mammals started taking over in the fossil record. This site is like a history book written in stone that tells the whole story of Earth's biggest change. So what does all this mean for us humans living today? And how did we end up running the world? The mammals that survived the asteroid eventually evolved into primates, which are animals like monkeys and apes that are smart and social. Millions of years after the extinction, some primates evolved into early humans who could walk on 2 legs and use tools. If that asteroid had missed Earth or hit somewhere else, dinosaurs might still be ruling the planet right now. We might never have existed at all because mammals probably wouldn't have evolved into humans with dinosaurs still around and in charge. The story of how dinosaurs went extinct teaches us that life on Earth can change completely in just one day. It shows us that even the biggest and strongest creatures can disappear if the right disaster happens at the wrong time. But it also teaches us that life is incredibly tough and always finds a way to survive and start over. The little mammals hiding underground during the darkness probably had no idea their descendants would one day build cities and explore space. Every animal alive today, including you and me, exists because our ancient ancestors were tough enough and lucky enough to survive.